tetrapods first set foot on land 400 million years ago. Tetrapods possess 4 limbs. Among the earliest tetrapods or amphibians evolved from cross-Septerogean fishes. If we fast forward to the modern day, there are 6,500 discovered species of amphibians living on all continents except for Antarctica. Amphibians can inhabit both aquatic and terrestrial ecosystems, but all amphibians possess a larval stage that takes place in aquatic environments. Some general characteristics of amphibians are that they have a bony skeleton with a varying number of vertebrae, a tripartite brain, and they are ectothermic with moist and glandular skin capable of cutaneous respiration. Amphibians have a moderately yolky egg with jelly-like membrane covering, hence amphibian eggs and larvae require water. Equally important as the process of reproduction is the process that some amphibians will undergo to find their mate.
I'm here with Dr. Mark B. from the University of Minnesota's College of Biological Sciences. Dr. B., would you be willing to talk with us about your work researching the female preference for spectral properties of western Cope's gray tree frog today?
You bet, sure thing.
Okay, so word on the street is that you're trying to find out what call frequency female frogs prefer in males. You know, what the ladies like. So you started out by collecting some frogs from Carver and Lake Maria State Parks. Why did you choose these two sites? And also, why did you choose the Cope's gray tree frog?
So let me answer the second question first. Cope's gray tree frog. They turn out to be a really great model for understanding animal behavior and acoustic communication in particular. So these are frogs in which the males aggregate in large, noisy aggregations termed breeding choruses each spring, and the males produce a very stereotyped and distinctive, we call it an advertisement call. You might think of it as a mating call, but they have a very stereotyped call, one that we can dissect, one that we can mimic using completely synthetic sounds.
So you synthesized the calls of these frogs in essence.
That's right. So we would essentially base our synthetic models of these calls on detailed acoustical analyses of calls that we've recorded in natural populations. So every frog species on the planet, just about, there are about 6,500 frog species on the planet. Each one produces a species-specific advertisement call. And it's different from the calls that other species produce. And this
sort of like birds.
Very much like birds, yeah.
Edifying.
So we're primarily using, as a behavioral assay, a behavior known as phonotaxis, which just means an approach toward a sound. And if you put a female in reproductive condition that has been collected in amplexus in front of a speaker, and then that speaker plays back either a real male's advertisement call or a digital model of the call that we've created in the lab, if she perceives that call as being the call of a real male, she exhibits this behavior where she almost directly hops and walks straight toward the speaker.
You placed these female frogs in the tank, presented them with the two different calls. You found that the female frogs would discriminate against males' calls that were lower than 3 decibels. Now, a frog's size and its call frequency are negatively associated, meaning that the larger the frog, the lower the frequency. One would expect the females to prefer the lower frequency, because that would mean a bigger male. Do you have any rationale as to why a smaller male or mate would be advantageous to the female?
There is a second species of closely related tree frog that has a call that sounds in some respects very similar to the call of the Cope's gray tree frog. And it turns out that these two species are sister species. And across much of their geographic range around the country, they look identical. They're morphologically indistinguishable. But they differ subtly in some of the features of their calls. One of the differences between the two species is that the other species, not the one we studied, but the other species has a slightly lower frequency call. Therefore, by discriminating against males that had lower frequency calls,
they prevent interbreeding.
The idea that our interpretation was that they may be doing so to do exactly what you say, to avoid mating with males of the wrong species. Between our populations and the populations from this previous study, which were in Indiana, was that there wasn't much evidence that these two species were breeding the same habitats in Indiana, where here in Minnesota they do. Our interpretation is that it's not so much that they like smaller males, it's that they are really careful to make sure they get a male of their own species.
Special thanks to Dr. B for being with us today. Any last words?
Well, thank you for giving me this opportunity to tell you about my research, and yeah, I look forward to see you in the frog pond.
Cope's gray tree frogs are excellent models for sympatric speciation based on behavior and sexual selection. This research sheds light on the evolutionary significance of mating preferences, and further research may be done to continue to examine the strength of the pressure of advertising calls.